What you working on there?
I want to build a better table really quick, so we have room to actually open this stuff up. We got these sawhorses prior to the workshop because we thought we were going to have to build a bunch of workstations for people to sharpen, and we should tell the story about that sawhorse.
Can we throw the disclosure in that this is a real-time video?
Oh yes, sorry. So this is sort of a spoiler alert.
Except not, because you're not going to see anything you haven't really seen already.
Right, yeah, no, you're good, We're not gonna share it. It's dark outside anyway, you can't see anything. We wanted to find something that we can build workstations out of for people to sharpen their chisels and stuff at the workshop, but we wanted to be able to use it after the workshop too. So we didn't want to build a bunch of stuff or, spend a bunch of money on things that were just like one-time use only. So I did a bunch of research and I found this sawhorse, and we bought a set because I wanted to just try them out. Alyssa was working on planing, and at the time we had a planing station on these sawhorses, but it was too tall. And then we moved them down and it was too low. So then we set her a planing station right here, and we put a couple of our long posts on here. Prior to the workshop, somebody was running the backhoe. We have what's called an over center hoe, and so when you unlock the backhoe, you actually have to come over center, and then the backhoe drops really quick. There's a really funny clip where Jason and Anna are carrying this compactor. It's gonna come down quick.
Whoa, Nelly.
So it's pretty exciting. If you don't know it's coming, the backhoe drops like 2 feet and it's like, ah! There was 2 long posts sitting on these sawhorses waiting for Alyssa to plane them. And this person unlocked the backhoe and it went wham and hit the post, and the post flew in the air and they came back down, boom! And I'm like, oh, thank goodness our sawhorses didn't get damaged. But guess what? That took a full-on backhoe unlocking whack and only bent it, but you can see the shape of the post. Yeah. Look at that, that's pretty straight. So we never even got the chance to test these sawhorses out. They weren't even 24 hours old, and that happened. And I'm like, we scrambled to get another set. Long story short, we have like 4 pairs of these things now. So this is a Tough Built 700, I think. They make a few different models. We ended up with this model, which is a 550. It has a few less features, but they basically include this 2x4 notch. They also have a sheet cleat, so you can flip this cleat out and lay a sheet of plywood right here, so you can cut across the panel without having to reach across the panel. And then the legs are not adjustable on the 550. They have just this, and then the 2x4, and then like some grippy sandpaper. I promise this is not an unboxing for sawhorses. I just have to share because I don't know that we're gonna do it otherwise. This 700 has adjustable leg heights. This side support is actually adjustable for a 2x4, a 4x4, or you can flip this down and do what's called a sacrificial 2x4. That allows you to set up like a cutting surface so you can cut panels, because these are obviously metal. You wouldn't want to cut through one. So if you're looking for sawhorses that won't take a pounding from a backhoe, but are otherwise quite light. I mean, you can grab 2 of these and run into a job site, no problem. And that have a lot of features. I think you might be able to get them on Amazon. I think we paid about $50 for one. So $100 for a pair. It's pretty steep for sawhorses, I'm not gonna lie. We now have 3 pair that are fully functioning and 1 damaged pair, so you'll probably start seeing a lot of these in our videos.
Jesse went to Home Depot without me today, and
don't buy anything for a while, we're broke.
I know, right?
No, actually we had purchased this set 3 days ago at full retail. No bonuses, no gimmicks, no nothing, because we need a good drill really bad. Like, we've got a couple of projects coming up that are going to be stupid drill intensive, and yeah, so it started something like this. Oh hey, look, they've got that new subcompact drill, I'll just grab one off the shelf. And then it was like, wait a second, maybe we should look at our other options. And then pretty soon it was like, hey, let's spend $500 instead of $100. Anybody who's been following us for a little while knows that we recently installed our subfloor, our radiant subfloor. and we put in like 5,000 screws. I don't know how many it was. It was a lot. And it became really obvious that our drill is dead. Alyssa was using our older brushless Makita Impact, and it still works great. We have no problems with this thing, even though it's been dropped many times from 20 feet. And I was trying to use the drill to help support the screwing, and the drill is just making me angry. So because the project was so big and our timelines were so tight, we agreed that $100, I think, is what we paid for another Makita Impact. This one's just slightly newer, I don't know. This one's a couple of years old. We did an unboxing on it. We'll probably link to that. We did not do an unboxing on this because it's kind of implied. Anyway, we now have 2 Makita Impact drivers. And in case you're wondering, yes, the new one is faster. We love these Impact drivers. They are fantastic. But I cannot say the same about the drill that came as a combo 2 years ago when we bought this. Disclosure, I have done many things with that drill that you probably shouldn't do with a drill. My point is, the Makita drill, I don't really feel like was that solid. I wouldn't say I gave it the torture test. I mean, I did things you shouldn't do, but I wouldn't say that I destroyed it. So I was a little apprehensive to purchase another Makita drill. So I made the mistake of walking over to the Milwaukee section and picking up the Milwaukee cordless hammer drill. What I noticed immediately is that it had a lot more metal in the frame, especially in the gear assembly and in the chuck. So I went and grabbed the Makita and I held them side by side, and I was shocked how less strong the Makita felt. If you know our channel, we recently unboxed a set of work lights that are a Milwaukee brand. So prior to now, I probably wouldn't have even considered purchasing a Milwaukee tool because we have so many Makita batteries, and as everybody knows, batteries are expensive. But with those work lights came a charger and batteries. So now we are kind of looking at different tool sets, thinking what will work well. So long story short, Alyssa and I talked about it and agreed that there's really no problem in having yet another Impact driver. Very soon here, our SIP panels will arrive, which will be the skin for our timber frame, and there will be a ridiculous amount of screws. And really the point of this purchase was a drill. We picked up the M18 Fuel. I still don't know even what fuel means. I looked today and I found brushless stuff that was not fuel and brushless stuff that was fuel. So sorry folks, I don't know what this marketing is all about. But I've been also looking for a cordless circular saw. It's kind of been on my wish list. I was very tempted to buy the Makita rear handle saw, but I haven't done it yet. And since we are kind of playing in the Milwaukee field, when I went to Home Depot today, they had the exact same drill and driver combo, but you got a free circular saw. They did have quite a few options. You can get a 9 amp hour battery, you could have got a work light, a reciprocating saw, a bunch of other stuff. But I've been wanting to get this circular saw. I feel like that's the one tool that we use all the time, that we always have to run a cord for. So let's get to this unboxing and we'll see maybe if we can do a couple of just side-by-side comparisons with the Makita. Would that be kind of fun?
That'd be fun.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say that any product that comes with a case, win. That's probably my #1 peeve with tools, is keeping them clean and organized. And if they come with a case, that just makes life that much easier. Seems like it's plenty sturdy. It appears to be lockable. It's all plastic, of course. Another motivator for buying these more expensive kits, because we already have batteries and our light is a charger, we could have just bought the tools. And I think we probably would have been $100 savings. But having a charger will help a lot because our light, moving it around as a charger is not very convenient. So operators manuals are included. It's kind of cool that they give you a spot to put them. In this bundle, they include their multi-charger. A lot of Milwaukee has 12 volt and 18 volt. So they have one charger that charges both. It's not labeled as a rapid charger. I don't really think that they do trickle chargers anymore, but I mean, somebody out there might know if I'm wrong about that. It does look like it has mounting holes on the back, and the cord looks acceptable. So it looks like there's an LED status indicator on the back here, and they give a diagram on the front of the charger that shows what's going on. It looks like a steady red means that it's charging, and what we're looking for is a steady green, and we'll be ready to go. So I can already see a problem with this case, and that is that it is very tight fitting, which on one side you would really like. For example, they've made grooves here so you can leave the bit in your impact, or here you can leave the bit in your drill. That's awesome, except for it appears that the case is built around their 5 amp hour battery. We happen to have a 9 amp hour battery that we might want to use, and you're not going to be able to fit it in the case because that 9 amp hour battery is thicker than the 5. So it looks like if you're not using the 5s, you're not going to be able to put these tools back in the case. So first, let's look at the drill. What really stood out to me immediately about the Milwaukee was the chuck, the tensioner, and the gear mechanism were all metallic. And on the Makita, it's not. It's mostly plastic. Even the chuck is plastic. So this is solid metal. And that just told me the odds of this having issues would be a lot less. This is their fuel model. I think actually we looked at another one of these drills that was not labeled with fuel, and I believe a lot of this was plastic. That tells me I think the fuel line is really designed around professionals, people who work with their tools for a living versus the homeowner. That would make a lot of sense because the price they charge for these tools is really out of reach of most people doing DIY weekend warrior stuff. This drill is a 1/2 inch chuck. It is a 2-speed drill, and it also has a hammer setting and also a drill bit setting, and then of course a multi-point tension on the chuck. This tensioner already feels a lot more solid than the Makita. I feel like I could break it. I didn't really know that when I bought the drill, and I felt like it's worked pretty good, but obviously I've damaged it. Of course, this is built around their 18 volt system, so it requires an 18 volt battery. The hammer setting, we learned really quick that this is not a hammer drill. We actually did an unboxing of our Makita SDS hammer drill. Do not drill concrete until you buy an SDS hammer drill.
And watch our video.
And watch the video. It is ridiculous how well they work. This hammer drill is like, in a pinch, it simulates a hammer. Although I haven't used this drill yet, so maybe we'll test that and see. I'm assuming most people watching this will know what these features are, but just in case someone's new to this stuff, when you set the drill to the screw setting, not to the drill bit setting, you can adjust the tensioner here, and it will create kind of an impact sound when it reaches that point of tension, which is helpful so that you don't overdrive a screw. So if you want it to set to a particular depth, you can find that depth numerically here, and then you'll almost always hit the same depth. A couple of features I feel like are almost mandatory now when you sell a tool like this is a clip. This allows it to hang on your tool belt or on your pocket or on your belt. If you are buying a tool today that doesn't have one of these, you're getting robbed. The other thing that I just noticed that makes me love this tool, and I was actually just thinking about trying to do this for my Makitas, is a bit holder. Seems like brutally obvious that you would need a bit holder on a tool like this. And Milwaukee includes one from the factory. I'm assuming that these things can actually be reversed. I don't know that. In fact, I'm looking at it and thinking 100% sure that the bit holder and the belt clip can be flipped. So if you're left-handed, you can throw it on your left side, no problem. Almost all tools now are coming with these LED lights, which somewhat light up what you're doing. And we do a lot of work at night. Like right now, we're in the garage because it's dark. And so we do a lot of stuff outside. So we find this light to be particularly helpful. A lot of the newer ones, the light stays on after you let go of the trigger, which is also really nice. The older Makita does not. So they've changed that. The newer one does. Forward and reverse is in the very typical location. There's no surprises there. Seems like a pretty positive connection. We actually had a Black & Decker. Can't believe I just admitted that. But it was a really good drill. It was a really good drill for like 4 years. And this mechanism was just junk. Like it finally broke and wouldn't work. Pretty sure I already mentioned this, but this kit is a brushless kit. I pretty much wouldn't buy a tool that's not brushless anymore. The battery life, the torque, it's all there. It's a valid technology, it's durable. You can still buy them though. They're out there, they're usually on the cheaper models. And I have found that they are very good about controlling speed, even on a drill where you want to be very precise. The technology is there for brushless. One of the reasons that I was attracted to the Milwaukee setup was they offer this fuel gauge on the battery. Now, most of the newer lithium batteries are coming with this meter on the battery now. Our Milwaukee or our Makita has a fuel gauge on the drill. So you have to put the battery in the drill, pull the trigger, and it'll tell you what the battery state is. Having it on the battery makes so much more sense. This isn't really a Milwaukee feature, but I was happy that it's something that we would get. The other thing that I have to say makes a ridiculous amount of sense is the mechanism that they use to lock the battery to the tool. This ergonomically makes so much sense. It's still a two-hand procedure, which makes sense. You're gonna have to hold the tool, pinch the jaws, and pull the battery out. I can't tell you how much Alyssa and I fuss budget with the Makita battery. I don't know why, but ergonomically, their design just doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work, it's just clunky. Included in this kit is Milwaukee's 18 volt, 5 amp hour battery. We have not had a 5 amp hour battery in a tool yet. The largest battery we have is a 4 amp hour, which when we bought our Makita kit was really big 2 years ago. And now 5 amp hours are becoming common. And now Milwaukee, I believe, offers the only 9 amp hour battery, which I can't even imagine what the runtime would be on one of these tools. Of course, these are lithium batteries. They do require, that you be fairly gentle with them. I mean, you can be pretty rough on them, but you definitely wouldn't want to damage it. The battery is expensive. I think you can get 2 of these 5 amp hour batteries for maybe around $140, making them 70 bucks a pop. So taking good care of the batteries is just as smart as taking good care of the tool. Milwaukee does include a clamp for the hammer drill, and it simply clamps to the top of the body. I guess if you were doing something like really high torque, that's pretty easy to put on. All right, let's talk about the impact driver. So this impact has a feature that I didn't know about. Apparently, this is a multiple speed impact driver. So it has a speed 1, 2, 3, and drill bit. Actually, this screw looking setting isn't actually for drill bits. It's to reduce stripping screw heads and breaking screws. So as you begin to impact, the tool automatically slows the torque and the RPM to help you, where on settings 1, 2, and 3, you're in full control. So you'll notice when you first start, it'll be pretty fast, but as you apply pressure, it will actually slow down. So it's not a setting for drill bits. These are 1/4 inch drive impact drivers. Something I noticed on the Makita that we just bought is that the mechanism is a little bit clunky compared to our old one. Our old one's super smooth. So this bit in this impact, the Makita, will barely come out. It's a wrestle to get it loose. And you can see how easily it's going in and out of the Milwaukee. I can just say the same thing already about this impact. I feel like it's just a little bit more quality. I can't even quantify exactly. It just feels, everything seems to work a little more smooth. And this guy, I mean, it probably doesn't even have, 30 hours on it. It's not like it's been beat to heck yet. So there's definitely a step in quality with this Milwaukee Fuel toolkit. Consistent with the drill, they include a belt clip and a bit holder. So that kind of does it. There's not really a lot to talk about. Well, maybe I could just mention ergonomics. I have to say that for whatever reason, the way the Makita is designed, I feel like I'm always putting it in forward. So if I'm doing a lot of removing screws, I find myself I don't even know how. When I go to pull the trigger, I end up putting it in forward. And so I end up having to put it in reverse all the time. I can already tell you that's not gonna happen with the Milwaukee. If you can see where the button is, when I pull the trigger, the button is above my finger. So I'm not likely to do this and pull the trigger. My finger would be too high. I feel like that's something that I noticed really early on with the Makitas, and it's been consistent with both the older model and the newer model. I just kind of discovered while playing with the Impact a progression. So this Makita is the original one that we purchased over 2 years ago. And it is basically 2 speeds. If you listen carefully, there's 2 distinct speeds. That's it. This is the one we bought about 2 months ago, and it seems to have more variation in the speed. Maybe 3 speeds? Listen to the Milwaukee. Seems to be infinitely variable. That's on the drill bit setting. So let's kind of switch back to speed 1. So that's fixed. That's really nice. You don't have to like pull the trigger halfway. It's set to a specific speed. That's speed 2 and speed 3. And then back to drill. I already like it. And I didn't really even realize that this one was 2 speeds, but I've heard it before, and I didn't realize this one maybe is about 3 speeds. But you can't control it, it just is automatic. So I just realized that while the charger doesn't indicate the state of charge, the battery does. So it looks like this battery's up to 3 bars, which is kind of cool. Should we open this guy while we're waiting for that battery to charge?
Definitely. No, Jesse, you're not allowed to look at that.
I know, right? But this is one of the reasons that I was okay with venturing into the Milwaukee tool family. We are barely getting started with this house build, and odds are pretty good along the way we're going to increase our tool supply. And their family of tools is pretty legit. Kind of starting out in a different family, getting away from Makita. We've looked at some of the DeWalt stuff, and I think we're curious. We're DeWalt curious. But they didn't have the lights that we wanted. Milwaukee did, and that's what sold us. And now we've got batteries, so now we're looking at the Milwaukee family. So again, this was part of a tool special, which with the holidays coming up, there's gonna be tons of this stuff. Let's see, so this is tool only. No charger, no battery, no nothing. It does include a blade, and then they give us another shopping list.
Does it have check boxes next to the tools? and like
sweet.
Has a magnet on the back, and the tool you bought is already checked.
And of course, an operator's manual.
I can already tell that's friggin' sexy. Take the plastic off. Do it. Do it.
So maybe a little bit of background on this saw for me. I wanted something in the 7 1/4 inch size. These 6 1/2 inch saws, I had one before, and it was just a big letdown. It seemed like the only thing you could cut with it was plywood. You couldn't cut it really a 2x4 that well, stuff like that. I did do some research though, and the reviews on this saw are mixed. It's a right blade saw, and if you are used to a left-sided blade, the people who reviewed this saw said it was absolutely terrible. You can't see the cut, yada yada yada. Ironically, the skill saw that we use most of the time is a right-sided blade, and I've become quite used to it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. But if you are dependent on that, or you're left-handed or something like that, you may not want this saw. Actually, the people who are left-handed said it's not bad because they can see the blade fine. The problem is they get covered in sawdust because the sawdust chute goes to the right. Sounds like this tool might be frustrating for some people. Right away, there are some things that I notice that I love when a company does with a tool. They include a motor lock, so when you change the blade, it is just that much easier. Instead of having to have two tools or a variation of other ways to do it. So the Milwaukee includes a lock for the motor so that you can easily change the blade with a single Allen wrench, which takes me to the Allen wrench. Who of you know where the Allen wrench is for your saw? I'll bet it's less than 50% because it always gets lost. They include not only an Allen key, but a place to store it on the tool. Another one of those features that you love to see in a tool is a rafter hook. I was just thinking earlier today that if I had my skill saw up on the loft, I really wish I had a hook on it so that I didn't drop it. So the blade included, I can't tell, looks like maybe a 24 tooth. Oh, here we go. Ha! 24 tooth carbide tip framing blade. So another consistent observation is the amount of metallic components. Shoe is metallic. All of the adjustment mechanisms are metallic. The blade guard is also metallic. So when you're frequently setting the saw down gently, right, it's going to be pretty durable. The only thing I can tell that is plastic is just the front side of the blade guard and dust chute. The shoe is very, very smooth. There's no grooves or anything in it. I guess I would probably watch this finish. I can just kind of tell, like even my fingerprints are showing up on here. I'd be a little worried that you get some sap buildup on a shoe like this. It's so smooth. I feel like some of the more stamped galvanized metal are more resistant to that stuff. That's just more of a personal opinion. So this saw has two adjustments. You can adjust the blade depth or the shoe depth, and this lever toward the rear is a simple flip up and you can quickly adjust. There are markings on the backside of the blade guard that give you an indication of depth. Of course, anybody worth their salt wouldn't really trust those, but they're a good place to start. And the other adjustment is blade angle, and that adjustment is in the front. The maximum blade angle is 50 degrees. Loosen the fence, you can adjust it, and clamp down. This small hole is a new feature to me. Milwaukee in their instructions show you how to true up the blade so that it is 90 degrees to the shoe. But they understand that there may be some fine tuning necessary. And so this screw is actually an adjustment screw for the fence angle. And so if you get it set to 0 and you set your square against it and it's not true, instead of having to fuss with it all the time, you can make a fine adjustment here that should get you back to where 0 is 0. This is another feature that is completely new to me on circular saws, and it is a slot for a rip fence. There's a accessory that slides in this slot and can be tightened down that creates a fence over here, somewhat mimicking a table saw. So if you wanted to rip a consistent width, say 10 inches, you would set the fence to 10 inches and you could make consistent 10-inch cuts of course based on the edge of the material that you're using. Most all of these modern cordless tools and non-corded tools have a safety on the trigger so that you cannot accidentally pull the trigger. You have to first press a safety lever and then you can pull the trigger. And Milwaukee, like so many people, make this lever ambidextrous. So whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you should easily be able to pull the safety and then pull the trigger. I can agree right out of the gate with the reviews that say that your blade visibility is quite poor. The skill saw that we use, the blade visibility is pretty good. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. So right-handed, you're going to have to look over the blade to get the best view, which is of course going to put you in line with the dust chute. The visibility through the tool isn't really that great. I don't know if I can even simulate this for you, but your only visibility is down past the handle and in between the dust and blade guard, and you can barely see the blade. It'll be interesting to make a cut with this saw and see if you can really follow a line. They include a tape measure here on the front of the shoe, and it goes to a little over 4 inches on one side and then to 1 inch on the other. I have good news.
What?
The battery is full. So, however long it took us to shoot this battery is completely charged. Well, the light is still red, but it shows 4 bars on the battery. So I guess it's not fully charged, but I think it's good enough to do some testing. So these are 7-inch GRK RSS screws. So I have the Milwaukee set to 3.
On your mark, get set, cheeseburger. I said cheeseburger, you weren't supposed to go. Didn't you go to public school? Oh wait, you didn't.
So that was pretty good. I mean, it's really hard to be objective because the wood in one spot could be harder than another, etc. So, but that was a pretty interesting test.
So at this point, if we had Milwaukee tools, the house would have been built already.
But I would definitely say that it is undeniably faster. Let's compare the 2-year-old one.
On your mark, get set, go.
I just thought of a complaint that I have about the Makita that I'm curious if it is also existing in the Milwaukee. This chuck on the drill seems to let go. If there's any amount of shock or anything to the tool, the chuck loosens its grip on the bit. And I find that really annoying because it's really easy for the bit to start spinning inside the chuck. So I brought out one of my spade bits and I want to test that out, and then also brought out a concrete bit for us to test out the hammer function on the Milwaukee drill. It's very smooth. I'll say that, very smooth. Still nowhere near as easy as it was the Milwaukee. So I have a 3/8, I think, or it might be 5/16 concrete bit, masonry bit. I've set the Milwaukee to the hammer setting, and I think that excludes the tensioner. Shouldn't matter. And let's just see if we can drill through this concrete. Not bad. Let's go a little deeper maybe. Pick a thick spot. does the job, but still nothing compared to an SDS drill. Not too bad, let's go a little thicker. So not too bad, not a massive difference. I wouldn't say it's like night and day, but definitely feel like the Milwaukee maintains a higher RPM when drilling, and I feel like the bit is just as important as the drill. So I'm now noticing that there's a light, an LED light on your cutting surface, so that's kind of helpful for cutting after dark. So out of curiosity, the cutting depth is 2.5 inches maximum on the 7.25 inch saw. There's no problem cutting 2x4s. We'll just see what happens if I try to follow that line. So I have to 110% agree with the reviews.
It's hard.
You cannot see your cut from this side. So that makes it really difficult. When I had the plywood sitting on the cutting supports for the sawhorse, it's no problem because you're standing above the saw. And so you're looking down on it, which is fantastic. So conversely, if you had a left bladed saw, you wouldn't be able to see your line. I don't know that there's a right way to make these saws, but I can see what people are talking about. It is definitely very challenging to see between the grip and in through the blade guard and get an idea for where your cut is going to take place. That's just my initial reaction. Of course, we need to put some time behind the saw and test it and see how we like it. As far as power, torque, everything, it's a brand new blade. Of course, it's gonna cut amazing, but the saw definitely seems to cut well. It doesn't seem to bog down much. My first impression is it's a nice saw. It'll be nice to have a cordless saw. So perhaps we'll do a follow-up in the future on all of these tools and kind of let you know how they're working long-term. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.